And there's been days when I've watched it and I've watched Cinderella's actions and I've said, maybe the stepmother was just misunderstood and she was dealing with a bratty, entitled teenager.
And now,
I'm the captain now.
coming to you from the K2 studios in San Diego, California.
This sounds great. You sound amazing.
I always sound amazing.
It's the world famous
Everybody's hitting off like BFFs.
Kris and Kristine Show.
Hey, what's happening? How are you doing? Thank you so much for being here. And I am Kris.
And I'm Kristine, and welcome to episode 169 of the Kris and Kristine Show.
Ooh, fantastic. It's so great to be back here in the K2 studios, baby.
I know we had taken a long time off just because of travel and life and all the things. We came back last week, and we came back last week, and now we're at it with another fantastic, fabulous episode of the Kris and Kristine Show.
Da-da-da-da.
How does it feel?
It feels fantastic, getting the band back together, the dynamic duo that's just you and me.
Yep.
We've had Ezekiel on the show last two episodes, but he is back home in is it Fresno?
Yes. And he's starting college tomorrow.
No way. Check that out.
I know. He had orientation on Friday and he got to go and do his tour and everything. Can you believe we have a kid starting college?
No, actually, I can't believe that. I mean, when I first met Ezekiel, he was like 13, I think he was. Maybe 12? Was it 13? I
think he was 13.
Yeah, I first met him and my boys were like super little, of course. They were very young. And I was so nervous getting them together and thinking like, what, are they going to be buddies? Are they going to enjoy each other's company? Are they going to be kind of like, is Ezekiel too cool to hang out with my little kids? Is he too mature for my little kids? Or is he like those little, whippersnappers? I don't want to play with them,
Oh my gosh, they were instant buds.
Oh, they totally were. They gravitated three amigos, and it's been pretty much nonstop ever since.
Yeah. I was looking at videos. Speaking of which, you got our Hawaii video up and running, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later in this episode. But I was looking at the videos of the three musketeers on their many escapades, let's call them that, their adventures and attempts to sink us when we were on the water bike, and them jumping off of the pier and all of those types of things. And they like to get into, I wouldn't say trouble, but they like to push the boundaries together for sure.
Oh, they definitely do. They are I think now they're in that stage of life where they're trying to be like the shock jock. And do you dare me to do that? Do you dare me to go jump off that thing? Do you dare me to do that? Yeah, I'll do it. And that kind of stuff. And they're kind of like outshow each other and kind of this like, look what I can do, and trying to impress. Maybe they're trying to impress the ladies. I don't know. Maybe it's a possibility.
But this year, so we have Zeke starting college tomorrow. We have Mason having 6th grade orientation on Wednesday, and Jacob starting 8th grade the following week. I don't know how I feel. I mean, it's going to be like a blink of an eye before all of our kids are like grown and out of high school. And here we are, empty nesters, old and alone.
Wow. It just means we have to start all over again, babe.
What, are we getting a baby?
We have one. It's a little fur baby. Little Clover Bear. She's probably listening to this podcast right now.
I know. She's not in the studio with us today, but probably going to start whining when she hears her name.
You know what's funny? You think about Ezekiel and Mason. They both are doing brand new like adventures. Ezekiel's going into a brand new college, and Mason's going into a brand new school. They're both, I guess Jacob is the one that's really kind of sitting in one spot.
He's like top dog 8th grader.
Yeah, it's almost like he's a senior and Mason's like the freshman coming in.
It totally is. And I was talking with Jacob because with our kids, I think we've mentioned this before, when we made a decision that we don't like to invest in like lots of stuff. We love to invest in experiences. And so when the kids finish a big milestone grade level, like 8th grade or 12th grade, we like to plan an adventure that they get to help have input into. And so I was talking with Jacob, And I was asking him because he's, going to graduate from 8th grade at the end of this year, but we were already starting to plan like, what adventure do you want the family to take? And so we were coming up with all different kinds of fun ideas. And that's something to definitely look forward to. I know we just got back from one big trip this year, but already starting to plan.
Like 3 big trips now, I think about
one
it.
big family trip.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but starting to plan for next summer, and Jacob gets to have big input into what it is that we do next summer.
I wonder where he wants to go for his 8th grade graduation into summer. I mean, going into high school. It's a big milestone.
Yeah, because he's going on his 8th grade trip to the East Coast that you and his mom are helping to save up for. So he's already going to be going to like Washington, D.C. and New York. So we're not going to do that. But he mentioned wanting to go back to Orlando.
Oh, what for? What's over there?
Universal Studios, Harry Potter Land, all of that stuff.
Right. I heard the Universal Studios in Orlando is like, it's more theme park roller coaster than it is like set design and behind the scenes and movie making kind of stuff like it is in Hollywood here. But like,
because they don't have a back lot there.
They might have some stuff. I've never been, but they might have some stuff, but not like here where they actually have
film the stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Like here's a set for Psycho and all that stuff. Like they've got like some crazy roller coasters, like really crazy stuff. The stuff at Universal here, it's probably more like on the Disney side of like thrill. Really, there's some scary stuff, but it's not like crazy Magic Mountain type of roller coasters. But
yeah,
but I've always wanted to go check out Universal Orlando. I heard it's like another level, and I think he wants to go there too. But after going to Florida last year
in the summer,
and realizing how hot and humid it gets over there, well, at least we're better prepared. We're better prepared this time than we were last time.
Well, what I was pitching to Jacob was the idea of maybe we take the trip, but wait until Thanksgiving break of his freshman year to go when it's actually milder and probably a bit more enjoyable. He was open to that idea, but travel during summer is always something that's kind of hit or miss because you're either going to like roast or be drenched in rain because of like tornado or hurricane season, not tornado season.
Well, yeah, depends on where you go. If you go like in the Bahamas or even southern Florida or when you're in Hawaii,
or New York, we got drenched.
Oh, yeah. New York. It rained in New York, too. So you always thought that like rain, at least being here in Southern California, the rain season for the most part is only like the winter. Like our winter is rain.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the summer is heat and more of it and more heat and sunny days and things like that. But I do remember that like towards the tail end of August, you would have like humidity come in and you'd have like rain and drizzle and a lot of thunderstorms would happen around that time of year too. So good times,
Maybe what we should do is take the kids to like a Universal Studios for like 2 days and then find some East Coast, like kind of near Florida, all-inclusive resort to stay at that has like water sports and pools and like food and drink included. Things that you would typically find in like the Bahamas or Jamaica or something like that. I'm sure that we have those types of things in like the Florida area. And then it's like, you don't have to worry about being in a theme park all day and like the heat getting you because you could go back and forth between your room, the pool, whatever.
I think you're describing that Great Lodge indoor water park thing. What's it called? Like the
Great Wolf Lodge. No, I mean, yes, it could be something like that, but I was thinking more like a Club Med or like a Sandals or Beaches resort kind of thing.
Yeah, you're talking Sandals.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to that indoor water park, I heard it smells like chlorine. Like you open the door.
I know, I don't want to do that.
It just hits you in the face like, whoa, It's all indoors, which is great for wintertime. If like you live in Wisconsin or someplace and during the winter, I'm sure the place is fantastic.
Right.
But I want water park. I want to go outside. I want to see the sunshine, all that great stuff.
What we need is like the Disney Alani Resort, but in Florida.
They have that. It's called Disney World.
No. How bad would that be if we say to the kids, like, we're going to take you to stay at one of the Disney resorts, but buy them no tickets to the theme park. Like the extent of what they get is just staying at the hotel.
They might actually like that. If it's a cool hotel, if it's got like water slides and all kinds of stuff to do, I mean, they may want to just hang out there. Be like, what are we going to the park?
Do you think that people do that? Do they just like go to the resorts and not go to the actual theme parks?
Well, if there are people that go to Vegas and book rooms at Caesar's Palace and never gamble, then probably.
Good point. Now I have a whole new respect for what actually happens at those resorts. I mean, they could do character breakfast. They could still go swimming. They can do some water sports. Well, not really, because there's like gators all over the place. But,
Yeah, but you would think that if you're going to stay in an actual Disney property, you would think that you'd probably be going to the Disney park that's associated with that property. You wouldn't just stay there just for funsies. But maybe you're just going by, for the day, just swinging by the place just to check it out. That's one thing. But I guess if you're going to stay there.
Yeah, I don't know. But, lots of stuff is happening. We're getting ready for our kids to have all kinds of changes. And, I'm very excited and also nervous at what the next year is going to bring because, having one kid in college, having another kid finish up middle school and getting ready to go into high school, having our littlest one starting into middle school. It just feels like, gosh, they're growing up so fast.
Yeah, I just can't wait until they all have their driver's license and they're all just like racing each other on the street doing donuts around each other. And next thing you know, you look at their YouTube channels and it's just them like hanging their phones out the window and see if they can
You can't wait for that day? I dread that day.
Well, when I was younger, we used to jump each other on bicycles. Like we have our bicycles set up and all three of us or whatever would run down the hill. And then we have a bike ramp we made out of like wood or bricks or whatever we could find. And we say, hey, everybody lay down. Like, yeah, you lay down there. We kept pushing the boundary on how far we can like jump each other. So we got to the very edge where like when the bike would jump over you, the tail end of the bike tire would literally nick you because it landed. That's how close it was when it would land. But yeah, good times,
Yeah, definitely. I just can't believe that, here we are this far along with, first of all, the two of us, I've been reflecting on this a lot. I came into your life over 5 years ago now, and Mason had just turned 6 and he was just finishing. He was like a day away from finishing kindergarten and getting ready to, then he started first grade the first year we were together. And now here he is starting 6th grade. And I just it blows my mind how fast our kids are growing up. And as much as I enjoy it because they're getting more independent, I just want time to slow down a little bit.
Oh, I know. And that's what summer vacation should be about. But when you had 3 kids that are just go, 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 even though you may plan a quiet, relaxing, chill vacation, it doesn't always turn out that way. And the kids just want to just go and get crazy. And I mean, I know it's exciting. Traveling can be exciting. I was telling you this morning that I think when I'm traveling with kids as a family, it's not as relaxing as you may think it would be.
No.
Even though you're saying, I'm going to go to a nice chill place. We're going to relax, drink a few Mai Tais, have feet in the sand and just relax. And then it doesn't always seem to be that way.
Right. Well, I was wondering, Chris, so I've been thinking about this quite a bit. When you were dating, that we call it BK, before Kristine.
Yeah, go on.
You were dating and you were putting yourself out there. I mean, you've been very open with me that you told me like you didn't think you wanted to get remarried or anything like that. Did you think that you would have a larger family? Like when you thought of your future, if you thought of your future, did you think like, yeah, I could be a stepdad someday?
I did. And there was a fact that way before BK, way before even my kids, I think I have dated girls that had kids and that sort of thing. So that thought always crossed my mind. I remember I was dating a woman a long time ago, and I used to take her stepson out to do events and do things. He was probably like 4, maybe.
Her stepson?
I mean, sorry, her son. Yeah, her son. He was probably 4 or 5 at the time, and I used to take him out and do a lot of fun events and stuff. Go to the park, or go to the zoo, or go all these cool things. And I always kind of wondered back then. I was much younger back then. I was probably in my 20s, And I was kind of thinking, like, what would this be like to have a son of my own? What is it like? And that sort of thing. Of course, it never worked out. But point being is that I have seen things from both perspectives. And when you have kids of your own and you're out there in the dating pool and you're trying to meet, your significant other with children, so now you're kind of thinking like, what is it like to blend two families together? And,
Right.
and if that person even has kids, or does that person want kids, or how is that a person being you? How are they going to respond to my kids? And how is our family going to work together? And it's not always easy.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that I put a lot of thought into being a step parent. I think that in the back of my mind, I knew that I would most likely date someone that had children of their own, but it wasn't a real prominent thing in my life. The couple of people that I dated before you and I met didn't have children. There was one that did, but he just saw her, occasionally just because of where she lived. And so it wasn't until you and I started dating that I really wrestled with this concept of quote unquote step parenting and like what life would be like to have more kids. And it's been a learning experience because I had one and I went from 1 to 3 and I've just been like figuring out how to adjust ever
But you're
since.
so good at it though. Like
Am I?
I think okay. Partially, I think it's because of the mother instinct. I think all women, for the most part, especially women that are mothers already, have a pretty good knack for being parents. Mostly.
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay, now saying mostly, not always happen. It doesn't always happen to everybody. But I think that from a father's perspective, I think it's a little different. And also, you came from a teaching background.
Right.
So you were already a teacher. You worked with kids. You already worked with kids at the school district that were my kids' age, range. So you already had that under your belt a little bit, where it's like almost as if you were to throw me into a substitute teacher role of like, say, 7th graders, right? I don't care what the class is. I would be totally like lost. But if you got thrown into it, you'd be a pro.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I just think that, there's not a lot of resources or before now, I didn't think there were a lot of resources to help parents navigate the step parenting dynamic and how to get yourself set up for success. And, we've definitely been trying to kind of, I wouldn't say walk blindly, but to figure out like, how does this work? How do we define this relationship? Like for you and Ezekiel, trying to figure out like, what's your role in his life and what's he comfortable with, and making sure that, you and I are aligned and that neither of our sets of kids feel that we're trying to like take over the other parent's role. Like, I know that Jacob and Mason have a really great mom, and I'm not trying to like be a replacement mom or in competition with her, but it's definitely been an interesting journey to navigate that.
Definitely has.
And this week on our episode, we have an expert that's going to be talking with us about navigating that parenting and step parenting dynamic. And I've been really excited to hear from her, and we're going to be back with her right after this.
Are you in the middle of wedding planning and feeling overwhelmed? There's no need to fret, my friend. Kristine Smith Designs is here to rescue you. Offering wedding planning, coordination, and wedding floral design services, let us help relieve your stress and make your wedding day dreams a reality. Visit us at KristineSmithDesigns.com. That's KRISTINE SmithDesigns.com and request a free consultation. You'll be so glad you did.
And welcome back, everybody. Today we have another fantastic VIP guest, super interesting and super relevant to Kris's and my life. She is the founder of the STEPHOOD project and focuses on being a childhood trauma educator. Welcome to the show, Lisa Goodpaster.
Thank you for having me. What a pleasure to be on your show.
Hey, Lisa. Well, thanks for joining us via telephone today.
Yeah, this is a new approach for us. We're excited to have you with us. But where in the world are you joining us from, Lisa?
I am in San Jose, California, Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley. Anything new happening up there? Any new Apple products?
Oh, no, I'm afraid to look.
Now, are you originally from the Silicon Valley area, or are you just on the road?
No, I was actually born and raised here before there. It was just IBM and a couple of, just computer businesses. Now it's, massive. So yeah, born and raised here. And then I kind of lived all over. I was a flight attendant before, traveled, lived in
Wait a
Hawaii.
second. You were a flight attendant? Tell me about that. What's that even like?
Oh, it was the best job for this former child of divorce because I knew how to pack.
Oh, yeah. It's a good point.
But you put a pack light though when you're a flight attendant, right? You don't get you don't get like the two major big giant suitcases. It's like the small one. You got a wheel to the ticket window, right?
Right. Well, you'd be surprised how much we can actually pack, and you can throw things in shoes, and it was. I mean, you're only gone for like 2 or 3 days, and you're wearing a uniform, so quite a lot.
That's amazing. So, with being a flight attendant, this is very intriguing. I don't know if I've ever met maybe I've met one, but I wanted to know, like, how
Yeah.
many countries, how many states do you think that you've been to?
Ooh, I've been all over the United States because I was domestic, and then I've been probably maybe 8 different countries. Latin America, China, not China, Japan, Brazil, uh, Europe.
Now, were you a coach class flight attendant or a first class flight attendant?
Is there a difference?
I've heard there is.
Yes. So when you first start off, you're like brand new. So like you're like a newbie, and you go where if you have to work in the back, you have to work in the back. Flight attendants are trained to work, and you bid every month. You can work first class if you want for a month. You can work in the back. You can work purser. So there's all these different, I suppose, job assignments. But yes, working first class would mean that you're in charge of the mic. So you've been in radio and in podcasts. It's kind of fun because you get to do all the announcements and that kind of thing. So, it breaks up the day.
Awesome, Lisa. On the subject of flight attendant stuff, fun stuff. What is your favorite terminal in the United States continental?
I would say, well, shoot. You know what? I wouldn't say, well, Dallas, because I'm
We've
just
been
used
there.
to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wherever they have shopping, LA, not so much. Uh, Denver is a really pretty airport.
Yeah, I would say so. Denver is a nice one. I think that it's a little bit more compact than the Dallas one. Dallas is massive. I flew through Dallas. Well, I was in Dallas for work just a couple of weeks ago. And man, those terminals are so long. It's just like it takes forever to get from one side to the other, but there's a lot of stuff there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I just like the. Usually, when you fly a lot, it's usually where's the best food, what hotels have the most comfortable pillows. That's what crews are usually looking for.
You don't bring your own pillow with you when you fly?
No, it would. I don't think then I wouldn't be able to fit any of my clothes.
Oh, priorities, right? Who needs clothes anyways? I think so. I have
Right.
this new special pillow that I got, and
Kristine's expensive pillow.
my expensive pillow is a purple pillow, and that thing is so heavy. But every time I get ready to travel, I'm like, okay, do I really have to leave you at home? Because first of all, it's very heavy, and it holds its shape, so you can't like squish it down very much. So unfortunately, it gets left behind. But I seriously debate every time I travel, like, does the purple pillow get to go on this trip with me? But I think it would have to be checked baggage.
They should make special arrangements for those pillows.
Yeah. So Dallas and Denver are your favorite terminals. Do you have any others that you've been through a lot that you say steer clear if at all possible on a layover?
I mean, JFK, the Heathrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think every airport is just. I mean, it was just work, so you kind of just pass through. But it should be really funny and honest. It's fun. It was fun back in the day when you didn't have to go through the check in with everyone else. You had like the private one for cruise. That was always fun. But yeah, the less busier, obviously, but it's not like we can sit and have a drink and wait for our plane to get there.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's
right.
a
You
good
can't
point.
you can't go to the bar where the pilots are at and have a few drinks.
Right. Oh gosh, right. Well, I married a pilot. So
Oh,
no.
man.
Yeah, we can have a whole other episode on that.
Now, I've heard rumor that if you work for a certain number of years with certain companies, then you got lifetime flight benefits. Did you get any perks like that, or did you maybe not stay long enough?
So I got a perk where I married a pilot and I and I got to fly for free. Oh gosh. I don't think my son now, he's 30, but yeah, he never flew regularly. He always flew first class. So you do get like you get to fly standby, which is a perk, I suppose. So yeah, there's definitely perks, but I don't know about that lifetime because that was not in my divorce decree.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate, but sounds like you've had quite a life of adventure traveling lots of different places. It's something that Kris and I both love, and we're taking our kids on their first super long, well, I guess we went on one other long plane trip, but we're flying this summer to Hawaii, direct flight. Any tips for us for packing from a flight attendant's perspective?
Yeah, just those plastic you can it like sucks your clothes in.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh yeah, a vacuum cleaner trick, right?
things. You can probably get them online on Amazon. Those things are amazing. You can you will be like, how did I ever not use this for packing?
But
Seriously,
how do
those
you do it when you're at the hotel though? Because you don't have a vacuum cleaner in your room. Like, how do you do it there?
blow dryer,
Will that work?
a blow dryer. Yeah, yeah. You just kind of
Interesting.
apply a blow dryer. It works great. If you have to check your bags, I never really check my bags because I just didn't want to be without my clothes. But if you always make sure that you take a carry-on where you have your makeup, your medicine, things that you can't be without, especially for the kids. So make sure that you have and if they're on medicine or their, change of underwear, things in case, you have to wait longer or your luggage doesn't arrive. Although direct from from San Diego to Hawaii shouldn't be a problem at all.
Oh, so when we're packing, if we don't do the checked baggage and we just do the carry-on, then it makes it super easy. But if we're checking baggage, you were saying to make sure that we have all of the medications and things.
Yeah, things that you need, like in case you have to go, say they have to turn around or something. This usually happens when you don't fly direct.
Oh,
But when you fly direct, it's a better chance that your stuff's going to go where you go. It's just to be on the safe side. I've always, always, always like my iPad, my cell phone, medication, anything that you just don't want to be without.
yeah, absolutely. And my mom always taught me that always pack a full, fresh set of clothing because if something was to happen and your luggage was to get lost, at least you have
Yes.
backup underclothes and stuff for at least 24 hours to get you through until your luggage arrives. And I'll tell you, that saved me so many times for travel.
Yes, because those socks don't last that they hand out.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing a little bit about your flight attendant journey. But we're really excited to talk with you about what it is that you do and what it is that you do for families. And so we see that you're a childhood trauma educator. But before we jump into that, Would love to know a little bit of your backstory of, what led to your own childhood trauma to trigger you to jump into this field.
I like to say, you know how Cinderella had an evil stepmom? And unfortunately, in my case, it's kind of like Cinderella backwards, where I had a bad stepmom. And instead of the mice and all the helpers and the fairy godmother, I had aunts and uncles and familia because I grew up alienated. And when you grow up alienated, that means that you don't have a relationship with one or both of your parents because there were some false stories and allegations. And that's what was done to me. And one of the biggest reasons why I think that I was able to figure it out is, number one, you can't really alienate a Latina because there's too many of us.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank God that I still maintained my relationships with my aunts and uncles and cousins because I was surrounded by love more than hate. So going back to your original question, I was one of those kids that was really angry. My parents got divorced when I was 4. I don't remember. And we've been normalizing divorce for so long. And what I mean by normalizing, by saying that the kids are resilient and they get through it. And well, yes, but when you're alienated and you have parents that don't co-parent, it's a very dangerous. And this, our children, and just like, I'll just use me for example, when you grow up, you are, you're kind of bound to your parents out of survival. And so when that divorce happens, we know that divorce sucks, but why? Why is it a lifetime hit for the kids? And that's where I come in and I use what was done to me to help educate all families from all walks of life, because parental alienation is massive. It is the number one thing that's just the destruction of our family.
Hey, Lisa,
So I'm
at what age were you when your parents divorced?
I was 4,
Okay.
and both my parents got remarried when I was 7.
Okay, so you had that couple-year window. But at that age, do you
But
really even know what's really going on? Or do you kind of
oh
like,
yeah.
okay.
Oh no. I mean, you don't know. Every age is significant and different. You know that there's something going on, but you don't have the words. And so you have to trust the adults around you. So you have internal feelings. You feel uncomfortable. You feel sadness. You feel anger. You just don't know how to express it at 4 years old. Some kids maybe, but I was angry and scared, and I didn't understand why. And back in those days, it's just normal. It's just the divorce. And no, it's a lot more than just divorce.
So, being that young, do you have memories of your parents being married, or does your memory pick up after they were separated?
No, I have no memories of my parents together. I do remember when they were getting a divorce because my dad was not there when the movers were moving our furniture out, my toys out. And I remember kind of tugging at my mom's shirt and going, "What's going on?" And she says, "It's a divorce." I go, "What's that?" When parents don't love each other anymore. I mean, that was it. And we went from a house to an apartment. And I remember, like, because I was very close with my dad, wondering, is he going to find us? Where is he? Like, looking out for him. But keeping that on the inside, not telling my mom, like, because wait, my mom just said they don't love each other anymore. Why am I gonna? So I just started to automatically worry. And parents don't know. They just think that, kids, they don't understand. They're too young. No, everything, especially in childhood, you don't get a second chance in childhood. So it's like a brand new computer, right? And so everything that gets inputted in childhood sticks. That becomes the foundation. This is why parental alienation is huge, especially when parents divorce. Because divorce sucks as it is, but it is it is a lifelong hit for your kids. And it's not over in a couple of years, it's forever.
So in your story, Lisa, you just talked about moving into an apartment with your mom, but you mentioned parental alienation from your stepmom. So it sounds like, and I'm making an assumption here. It sounds like at some point maybe there was a flip where either dad came back in your life or he had you more of the time. So can you elaborate a little bit on what
Yeah.
you don't have to go into all the details, but just so our listeners know, like
Yeah.
what transpired to shift that dynamic?
So from the time I was between 4 and about 7.5, I lived with my mom, and then I would see my dad like on every other weekend, or just the typical parent. Mom gets 80, dad gets 20% of the time.
Okay.
My dad married somebody that didn't have kids, was younger, and didn't understand the difference between parental love and spousal love. And unfortunately, my mom was having some car troubles. And so my dad said, just let her stay with me for like 2 weeks. And I was on it because my dad was like Disneyland, right? And my mom was more of the stricter parents.
Yeah, it's usually how it works. I get that. I've been accused of that myself,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. And it's okay. And here's my thing is like, you know what? Who cares if you have a Disneyland parent and the parent? Who cares? At the end of the day, it all works out, and it's what's best for your kid. Like, kid needs both.
Right.
Just can't have it at the same home. So just get over it, parents. It's okay. Be happy that your kid is having Disneyland fun. It just sucks that you can't be there, but that's divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things that, it's like, oh, when you put it that way. So yeah, so here's what's really interesting is between the ages of 7 and 13, I spent more time with my stepmom than I did either of my parents.
Interesting. Is that just because of work schedules and that kind of stuff?
You would think, no, that was because by the time after 2 weeks of being at Disneyland house, I didn't want to go back to my mom. And it wasn't just that I didn't want to go back, was that I started hearing things. And it was like overnight. It's not normal for kids to hate their parents, especially that young. It's not.
Mm.
And so my stepmom, in order for her to feel important, she would have to invalidate or turn me into an evil stepchild to make herself feel better. And when you're a kid, you don't understand this.
As an adult, I still don't understand it. So your stepmom was looking out to hate you to make herself feel better?
Oh yeah, it's bad. This is unprecedented proof. And we didn't even talk about this in the beginning, but yes, what my stepmom did was that she rewrote my entire history between me and my mom and my dad, and had me read it. And I don't know how many times I read it, but it's so evil. That's why it's in my book, Alienated, When Parents Won't Parent. Because what she did is that she took it all the way into my conception, into my mom being pregnant with me. My mom didn't want me. I would kick my mom from her belly. My mom wouldn't look at me, wouldn't change my diapers. It's really, doctors have said this is unprecedented. This is going to rattle so many parents, but also bring awareness because, like I said, this took 40 years to unravel. So I lived my whole life thinking that my mom was a piece of crap, that she was a drug addict, that she was just a total horrible mom. And the only person that loved me was my dad.
But okay, I'm trying to figure out the motivation for somebody to actually do that to a child, especially one that's not their own.
It's hate.
Okay.
Hate.
Yeah.
It's a mental. It's got to be an illness. It's so bad, you guys, that she even has I have siblings. I have half siblings, and she even writes about them being hurt in it, and that takes a different type of a mother. There are so many, and it's not just step parents that do this. All parents, whether some of them are dads, some of them are moms. When you look at the news, how many parents are hurting their kids, are literally killing their kids.
Mhm.
To bring a little light humor to this, I always like to say, I used to tell the kids when
No,
they're
don't
younger.
say it. Don't say
I
it.
should say, whoever cleans your room first is my favorite. So get on that, all right?
I thought you were going to say something different, Kris. But, one of the things that stood out to me in this whole conversation and reading about you on the front end was because Kris and I have been previously married and then we brought our kids together is, trying to figure out our own roles. And, when something happens that the other parent does that really makes you angry, how do you hold it together to not say anything in the presence of your children to disparage them? Because it would be so easy to say all kinds of things, but the damage that does to kids is, it's exponential. It's not just like, oh, well, your mom did X, Y, and Z. They interpret it as, oh, my dad hates my mom and now I have to protect her, or, what would make my mom do that, especially if it was, oh, well, your mom, well, I'm not even going to say it because I don't want our kids to hear things and think we're saying that about them, but fill in the blank with whatever it is that then the kids that becomes the tape in their head about their other parent. And if you add all of those things up, it becomes a movie. It's not just a one-liner. It becomes the narrative. And that could be so toxic and so incredibly traumatic for kids.
It completely steals every aspect of your life, and you don't know it because you're growing up. You're enduring it. And like me, I just wanted to get away. I was just a really angry, I was just proportionately angry about my parents' divorce. And at the same time, I was also kind of being coached that it was, oh, this is all because, your parents got divorced. And of course, it was my mom that wanted the divorce. And so when kids hear this stuff, it starts to manifest in all these ways, right? Like, well, if my mom didn't want to be married to my dad, makes sense why she wouldn't want to be a mom. So when parents are, seeing things or hearing things that are really bad, or something happens, and, you have to shield your kids from this type of parental behavior. Because the second a child is torn, the second a child, whether it's true or not, we still love our parents. I still love my dad. My dad's very supportive over the book. It's a big, long story, but my mom is very supportive, both of my parents. Talk about, I had to corral them for 40 years because I always felt that there was something wrong with me, but I was always trying to figure out what it was. So when I remembered the trigger of all triggers of where my stepmom actually kept what I refer to as proof, which is actually in my book, it explains actually what literally brainwashed me away from my mom.
Oh, wow.
And this isn't much different that what goes on in the groups online, on Reddit, on TikTok. It's bad. So anytime a parent is kind of upset because maybe one parent made a mistake, whatever, you have to shield your kids and make sure that they can still be kids. Because if they have to worry, anytime we have to worry about our parent and we're young, we automatically check out. Because just when you know about the body and brain and survival, our survival, even as babies, this is why it's not good to take a baby away from the mother. so soon because babies don't. This is all proven. This is all done. Harvard research. This isn't anything new. It's just parents aren't educated in this, and kids don't know because they're just doing what we're told. We don't know what it's going to feel like at 16, at 25. So you're literally splitting your kids. And when I mean splitting, I mean at one house, your kids have to behave a certain way. At the other house, your kids have to behave a certain way. And then when you have the parental conflict, who's the better parent? It becomes all about the parents. Nobody's nurturing the kids. The kids are left to deal with their own emotional experiences alone. And that in itself is trauma.
Wow.
So when you think about kids from divorce, right? Like, it's like, okay, it's like, yeah, divorce sucks because you deal with it alone. And that is the definition of trauma. Anytime your mind gets overwhelmed and there isn't a parent there to say, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? What are you feeling? Let's talk about it. We suppress our emotions and we survive. And the problem is that those emotions eventually come out later. And that's why you see a bunch of kids or grown adults act like kids, because it's our inner kid that is like screaming for attention all the wrong ways.
Well, listening to you, I'm processing all of this. And I will say there's been an occasion for a little bit so lighthearted humor coming at you.
Thanks, babe.
Going back to your original comparison, and I'm not diminishing or gaslighting your experience at all. I'm saying separately from my own experience as a stepmom. I've watched the movie Cinderella before. And there's been days when I've watched it and I've watched Cinderella's actions and I've said, maybe the stepmother was just misunderstood and she was dealing with a bratty, entitled teenager. There are days when I'm like, I want to hear the origin story of the quote unquote evil stepmother, because there was something there. Because there's days when I tell my best friends, like I'm texting and I said, you know what? I'm finding myself in the middle of the Cinderella movie and I really think she was just a bratty teenager and the stepmom's misunderstood, and they laugh at me. But I feel like there's two sides to a lot of situations. And I'm wondering on the other side as the step parent, like, how do I know if the other parent is trying to alienate me from I don't refer to them as stepkids, my bonus boys. And I don't think that's our dynamic, but sometimes they'll be so angry at me and spit such venom. And gosh, oh man, it hurts so bad when I'm like working multiple jobs, trying to, pay for travel and all of these extra things for our family. And then I just get cut down and I'm like, gosh, it's really hard to show love and kindness when all you get is venom. How do you navigate that?
So that I would say is on the parents. Why are the parents allowing the kids to talk to an adult that way? Like, you have to nip that in the bud. And when that isn't nipped in the bud, then it's like, and then teenagers already rebel. And I can tell you, it's uncomfortable having step parents. And it takes years. I have the best stepdad in the world, and I'm so glad that my mom and my stepdad, have my brothers. We're super close. But it takes, I'm 50. It takes years to develop that appreciation. And and I wouldn't say, it's not that, oh, poor me, I'm dealing with this like just really just annoying teenager. Something's going on for that annoying teenager.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to that child? What happened that you feel like you can act this way towards? What are you hearing? Because we normally, when you're angry at someone and you kind of lose your head, you're just like, then you kind of get like an anger hangover, like, oh, why did I act like that? Right. Kids feel that. They do. I know I did. I wasn't, I would say that that's on the parents, and you can't force your stepkids to like you. The best thing you can do for your stepkids is to love their dad or their mom.
I thought it was to buy them presents. Man, I've been doing this wrong.
Oh, that helps. That helps. You know what? Yeah, that's Brady Bunch.
But Lisa, why?
I know, and a maid.
Why do you say so much to love the other parent, or at least show respect or kindness towards the other parent so much?
No, it's like loving you.
I meant the parent. Yeah, like I meant like their spouse. So like you're like Kristen loving you because you came right, because both your ex-wife and her ex-husband, you guys got divorced. So kids didn't get to really grow up having that example. So when you remarry, it's really important that they see the love and the friendship between you guys, because no matter, like my son's 30 now, so I was my husband was a really good stepdad for a long time, and I thank God, and super patient. There's a big joke too. Want to hear it?
Yes.
It's like, because I had all these because when you go through a lot of trauma and you deal with all this stuff, it's like, oh my God, how many things do you have? And it's like, only a pilot can carry all his baggage.
That's pretty funny.
There you go.
So I want to say, like, I'm trying to put a normal spin on an abnormal situation,
right?
Without offending like parents. And you should see my TikToks. Oh my God. It's like, if I stick it for the moms, the stepmoms get mad. If I stick it for the stepmom, it's and it's like, that's exactly what happens. And so if you, like right now, say you have teenagers and they're like, oh my God, they're going to kill me. I swear to God, there's going to be a day when those teenagers are going to get married and they're going to be happy. And, hopefully they're going to look back and go, oh my God, thank you for not losing thank you for loving me in my ugliest form. And it could be, it could be from just losing that attachment to our parents, because that's what divorce does. And when we understand attachment and how important that is, especially parents, then they know, like, okay, this is why we show up and we pretend to get along and we do it for the kid until they, can kind of parent, they kind of have to adults out of it. It's just very hard because kids don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Because we've been normalizing it.
So Lisa, on that note, with kids and parents going through divorce, and what age do kids, do they even still do this, where they do the whole, which house would you rather live at, pick a choice, kid, you decide? What kind of pressure is put on a kid to make a decision like that?
So it's just like telling an adult where you want to work the rest of your life. Do you want to work here or you want to work there? And you're like, I kind of want to work at both.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's you don't even want to put that on your kid almost. But however, there are times when, and this is, a lot of parents don't want to hear it. A lot of parents, especially if you have a parent isn't ready to move on, so they create drama. That's not a good example to set for your kid, because they're watching it and they're feeling bad. So kids are constantly having to suppress their feelings and emotions so that they don't upset the adults while enduring trauma and not even realizing it. That's why it takes on forms of anxiety and all kinds of, kids get stomach issues. They act out in school, and this is, you only get one shot at childhood, and that's the foundation. And when we understand it from a non-emotional, like, just, okay, this is the brain and this is how the body grows, and everything that we say and do is going to be the catalyst that's either going to propel our kid or shrink our kid.
Right. It's interesting that you bring
So,
that up. So Kris and I sat down with our 13-year-old, his biological son, my bonus boy, and he's at that age where we felt like, he's never had input into the custody arrangement. So for our two littles, it's a 50-50 split, and they go like midway between the week. So we have them 50% of the time. Their mom lives just on the other side of town. We co-parent decently enough. I mean, right after we're done with this interview, we're leaving to go co-host a birthday party for our youngest together this afternoon, where all sets of parents are going to be there. And so, I mean, I would say it's one of the more functional dysfunctional dynamics in terms of divorced parenting and co-parenting. But Kris and I had this conversation of, we haven't really ever checked in with our kids to see how this is working for them. And so we sat with our 13-year-old and we talked with him and said, hey, you're at the age where you can have input, and we just want to know, is this working for you? Would something work better for you? We respect your voice, and we want you to know whatever you say, it's not going to hurt anybody's feelings. We just want to make sure that you're comfortable and that you feel like you're in a good space, because we know you're really close with your mom. You like to help her out a lot. Like, we're not going to have our feelings hurt if things don't work for you. And he said, actually, I just want to keep it the same. It works. And we were like, okay. And it was just like, I had this pit in my stomach because I was worried. Kris has done so much to, be present for them their entire lives. And,
right.
and he, during a very contentious time, he was kind of the lead parent through some of the mess. But, I was like, okay, please don't say you want to leave and just be with your mom. And then when he said, he was just like, it was so low key. He was like, actually, it's working pretty well. We were like, okay. But we had the
when you were saying that,
conversation.
yeah, as soon as you were saying that, I'm like, oh no, don't go. Because sometimes some parents will turn the kids into, they call it parentification, where the kid is taking care of the parent.
Right.
Right. So I was like, oh, good answer. Okay, good. The more balance, the more, plus 13, that's when, the hormones and stuff. It's a really confusing time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's good. It's good to, be around both of your parents. You need them both throughout your life.
Right.
Just differently. And it's just a shift. And it's okay. It's because it's about them. And at the same time, yeah, that would have been for me, it would have been like, I'm staying with my dad and stepmom, even though I hated what was happening. I just believed that I had to protect my dad. I stayed silent to protect my dad.
Wow.
So yeah, it's so hard because no parent wants to hurt their kids or make mistakes, but we do. And you'd be surprised when parents believe in their kids instead of believing, and not that it's not true, but all the bad things that could happen. I mean, we're meant to survive. So my body and brain did exactly what it was supposed to do. It protected me, even though it protected me from my mom, which didn't need to happen. It's very sad. So it's cautionary. And it's also, we're living in a world where there's so many alienated and estranged kids. That's where we have to focus on is our families and making space for step parents and parents need to understand that, you're going to share your kids with the entire world. Your mom and dad now, but then you share them with their friends, their spouses, their teachers, their coaches. So it's divorce it changes everything, and to try to make a child fit into a normal system that it's not.
Right.
It's I look at my stepdad, and there's this like loving protection from him, and I I sincerely love it. I always feel safe. And there's a part of me that wishes, damn it, I wish my dad was a little bit more like that. But I still love my dad.
Right.
But if I need something, I call my stepdad.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if kids they secretly have the one that they know they can talk to more than the other one, you know? Like, for example,
Yeah.
if they're going through something like, say, personal, like emotionally, like a breakup or a dating kind of a thing, what parent do they lean on more for that stuff? What parent would they say, well, I can't tell that parent because that parent would freak out if I'm dating that, so tell me so.
Yeah. And then this is where step parents are good because like when I was raising, when I was raising my son, I was like, okay, Greg, give me 10 years. Like I was helicopter mom. Like I'm going to like, I was super present and so was his dad. So we really co-parented. We both were kids from divorce. Like we're not going to let this happen. I didn't even know I was alienated. Keep in mind. So I was just like this helicopter mom a little bit. Then I had to like, all right, let me turn off this, let me turn off the controller. But what I'm getting at is there were times where I was super emotional. Like, what do you mean you wrecked a car? Or what do you mean? Because parents been stressful too. We worry.
Mm-hmm.
Where the step parent is more calm because there's not, we love our stepkids, but there's more of a calmness because it's like, it's like an advocate, right? Like if I need to talk to, like, I know my son would call his stepdad and talk to him about certain things. That's just, it's like an advocate almost. Like a good step parent is almost like an advocate. Like, well, it's a very enduring thing, but it works best when parents do the parenting and the step parent is there, loving and supportive, but the kid still has the foundation with their biological parent isn't severed. When that relationship is severed because of lies or false accusation, that's like a death of your parent.
Yeah, definitely. Now,
Even if they're sick, even if they're bad parent, you still your entire life you still crave that throughout your life.
from your experience, Lisa, going through what you endured in your childhood with parental alienation, what have
Mhm.
you done to now support survivors in? First of all, I think part of the work is identifying, like, what is it that I actually went through, and then how do I start to heal from it? So, what's your
Right.
role as a childhood trauma educator?
So that's one of the biggest reasons I started the STEPHOOD project was to bring awareness on the dangers of not co-parenting. Because when I finally figured it out, when I remembered, and I called my dad, hey, dad, can you check underneath your wife's nightstand? Because there's something in there. I need it. Can you bring it to me? And it was there 17 years later.
Wow.
So when you read something where my son was already in college, right? Here I am like 42 and 43 maybe, and I'm reading and I'm thinking, oh my God, what the hell happened? And even my own psychologist, Lisa, I don't think we could help you. Like, what do you mean? What you can't help me? What the hell happened to me? And it's like, where do you go when you're brainwashed? And so I had to relearn everything, a lot of neuroplasticity. I went to a place called the Hoffman process. A lot of celebrities have gone there. It's like where you go when you have, I call it where you go when you have a bad childhood. And I'll never forget. They're like, Lisa, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. No, no, you survived. you just, you, you developed a lot of patterns and we can work through all those patterns and behaviors um, comes out when we are in relationships with our boyfriends, even girlfriends. And so for me, I was it was very hard for me to live my life free until I figured out what happened to me because I was always still around my stepmom. And it never went away. This narrative, it was just it is like it's a psychological mind F. So once I figured it out, God, I was alienated. Explained to my parents, went to the Hoffman, and then I knew like there's so many kids just like me because I was always trying to figure this out. Always just, it's like you're gaslit for like, not just like once, like your whole life.
Right.
It's like, it was like validation. I told you it wasn't me. Like, you know,
But did you feel like a lot of relief though, Lisa, when once all that was kind of came out? Did you feel relief? Yeah.
I did, but I also had to feel it. Because when you suppress a lot of the emotions, in order to heal, you kind of have to feel it. So, I got to do some cool things like ketamine and psilocybin that kind of help get the sticky stuff out. The sticky stuff is like the stuff that you're afraid to go in and look at. But along with like somatic therapy. So my biggest thing was, you can't even begin to heal until you know what you're healing from. And I had been in and out of counseling just because I was curious by nature. And everyone just like, I just would fall under being a child of divorce. It's like, no, there are certain questions that need to be asked. Like, do you see your parent? How often? Do you know your parent? Because it's on the ACE score, which if anybody knows, it's adverse child experiences, and you can take that test. And divorce is on there, and so is having a step parent. So why is it that divorce and having a step parent is part of a child's traumatic experience, yet it's been continuing going on generation after generation, right? Because I normalized it too. I got married, and I mean, I was a stepmom too. I get it. And it's like, oh God, this comes down to the attachment to our parents. So ultimately, a step parent can't alienate a child without a parent's permission. However, my dad didn't know to the extent. And at the same time, he was one of those dads that put his head in the sand, which is a very common thing for step parents, whether they're a stepmom or stepdad, is when the parent just doesn't want a parent.
Oh, yeah.
So yep. So that is, and what can a step parent do? And it's like, all you can do is be a really good role model. But to try to intervene and take over, that is just gonna confuse and hurt the kids more.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And so the STEPHOOD project, what are some of the services and resources that you provide through that?
So when you go on there, you'll see right now, I think I have like on the Hoffman is on there. There are professionals that I recommend that I've worked with, because there's like so many people that are calling themselves experts, and this isn't even in the DSM. They're still studying this. So the fact that I grew up to prove it, because they can't even get kids to admit, like, who wants to admit that they were brainwashed? No one. Well, I have the script. Cinderella over here, Latina Cinderella has the script. So you're brainwashed until you're not. Except the problem is with me, because it took so long, this is just where we're at. Like, you miss out on a lot. And this is why I'm here. I'm laughing. You guys want to laugh, but I came here for Mother's Day, and I used to run away from my mom all the time. My stepdad would write missing back in the day, like missing, a teenager running away again. And I'm laughing because I'm still here. I'm like, I didn't sleep good. I think I'm going to stay another night. And they start laughing. I'm like, remember when I used to run away? Just like, oh, holy shit. Or we just do goofy things like, I'm returning a cup and a bowl. Like, I guess I used to leave like dishes, like, some stepkids are like messy, but I'm super clean now. But it's just funny things that kids do. And it's like, well, the reason why I didn't want to leave my room, I was scared.
Right.
And when you understand like what I had to read and what, a lot of kids have to deal with, they stay locked up in their room. They don't want to be a part of the family because something is going on. And had my dad denied that what happened to me, had he denied it, it would have delayed my healing. So the fact that both my parents owned their part, because parents always like to, no, he's the worst parent. No, and the kid's like, shut up.
Right.
It's my life. This is now. This isn't about you guys. So I'm kind of like that voice for the kids. It's a really fun job too. Oh my God, it's not. It's hard.
So big
So he thought I'd
question,
rather be a comedian.
big question for you, Lisa. Is the stepmother still in your father's life as a spouse, or has she exited the family?
No, she's still married. They're still married. My dad knows there's a book. He's very supportive. He's the one that brought me the proof. But nope, they're still married. And it's really sad for my dad. Both my parents came here from two separate countries.
Mm,
So that I could so that I could grow up illegally alienated. Like, how is that even possible?
right.
So it's very sad because he just wants all his kids together, and it's her. And I don't ever have to see her again. It's what she did is it's really bad. It's and there's so much more trauma that happened to me during that time that it's too dark to talk about. It's in the
Right.
book. Uh, but it's also very common for kids that grow up that, I was a latchkey kid, a Gen
Mhm.
Xer. So, like, I was already feral to begin with.
Right.
However, yeah, the kids nowadays, it's totally different. And so I really hope that they're more equipped to be more attuned parents and have the awareness of, okay, this is anxiety, that's normal part of life.
Right.
Uh, so that they don't feel so victimized, because when parents a lot of parents will, they're determined to make sure that their kid knows, no, your mom is really bad. Like, your dad is a narcissist. Okay, great. Maybe to you, maybe it doesn't even matter. That it just destroys that kid, because you're telling that kid, oh, so I'm half a narcissist now. So when
Right.
they don't have that life experience, you're almost reshaping them into something that they don't even think about. But now they have to play a part to appease mom or dad. And that's just sad. That's not a life.
Right.
That's a prison.
Well, Lisa, this has been super informative in helping us to better understand our role as parents, especially navigating co parenting after divorce. For more resources for parents like us or for children and adult children of divorce that may feel that after listening to this, they've experienced parental alienation, where can they go to learn more, to self assess, and to be able to move forward?
So you can check out the Stephood Project. You could also check out parental alienation awareness. And, just for anyone that thinks that they've been alienated, it's an unraveling, and that's just part of the process. Don't be afraid of it. You know, uncovering, opening up that Pandora's box actually allows you to heal. It's a part of life. Healing is a practice. It's like a full time. It's like a sport. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Of course.
Because
Yeah.
truthfully, yeah, our mind and body will heal themselves once we know what happened to us. And hopefully parents that are listening can understand this from a child who grew up to prove it, that, you know what, okay, no one's perfect. It's what do you do now when you know?
Yeah,
All right. Like
absolutely.
make space. Like, even just because your child is an adult doesn't mean that pain doesn't go away. And just because it happened a long time ago. But if it's never been tended to, uh, it just it festers. It gets worse, and then, kids, they're not just angry teenagers. Now they're angry adults,
Even worse,
and
'cause
they
now
drink.
they can
Yes,
drink and buy a gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Get on airplanes, get kicked off. I mean, do you see them on the airplanes, and you see how people react very loud, and they're arguing, and people have to pull them off the airplane?
Right.
That's something happened. Something happened
Yeah.
to them.
For sure.
And so that, because, yeah, we react out of our emotional part of the brain, and that's where we hold trauma. And where we hold trauma, there is no time or space. That's why it's like you can't even really talk to a person when they're like over emotional, because they're not in the reality. They're in the reality from the past that wasn't ever healed.
So you think it happens with a lot of kids or even adults, I guess, that do have outbursts, is that even though the situation may be as simple as you move my car keys and they make it seem like you just wrecked their car.
Yeah, it's disproportionate, totally disproportionate. That's always new. Like, why would I do that again? Oh, now it makes sense. Oh my God. Yes, it's those things, those moments of like, it's human and it's a sign that, oh God, I wasn't nurtured. So pretty much our whole generation, but
Okay.
it doesn't define it doesn't define you. It's, you can survive anything. We are what happens to us. We are a product of who we want to turn out. We're the ones who have the control.
Fantastic.
Well, Lisa, this has been super informative. We really appreciate you for your time and helping us dig into this really worthwhile topic, especially sandwiched right between Mother's Day and Father's Day. This is really a good topic for all parents to reflect on, especially if they are entering into a second relationship or helping their kids navigate through life after divorce. Is don't be that parent that alienates, because the trauma that you lump into your kids' lives, it's completely avoidable. I mean, we're all messed up enough.
Yeah.
Let's not add fuel to the fire. Am I right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's hard. You don't want to fly on one wing. You do.
Like your little pilot. Yep, there you go.
You crash and burn.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
Lisa, we appreciate your time so much. We're going to go put this into practice while we go co-host our littlest's birthday party. We just want to say thank you again for your time. And definitely, listeners, we're going to have all the information about the parenthood or the stephood project in the show notes, as well as the other resources that Lisa mentioned. And Lisa, we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Enjoy listening to podcasts and ever wonder, can I make a podcast? But it seems so complicated, and good audio production can take time. What if there was a way to create an amazing podcast easily? Well, now there is. Introducing Podcasting Made Easy from Podtastic Audio. My production team will handle your entire audio production, allowing you to be the star of your show. This is Podcasting Made Easy. How easy? Well, so easy, you don't even have to press record. Now that's easy. Your listeners are waiting. Let's deliver. Sign up for a free strategy call today at podcasticaudio.com/easy. Hey, that was so great for Lisa to call in all the way into here.
Definitely. I learned so much from her about the roles that we play in terms of step parenting. And, I was just totally joking about the Cinderella's evil stepmother, kind of.
I don't think so. I think after a few mishaps with the children and their behavior not necessarily being the best, I can see where possibly that maybe, it's funny. Okay, Disney always seems to paint the
villain,
the children, as being like angels in every situation, except for the step kids. They were evil too. I don't know.
Pinocchio did some naughty things and his nose grew.
Yeah, but at the end of the story, he's like the heart and warming,
right,
fun. He's like the hero of the show.
Boy.
Yes, I'm a real boy. Do it again. How's your voice? Do your voice again.
And that just came out spontaneously. I'm a real boy.
There you go. And what is the little character?
Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket. What does he always say?
I don't remember.
Dude, it's been so long since I've seen that movie.
Yeah. But back to what you were saying about, after the kids, Disney paints the kids to be so perfect.
They do. And of course, parents being kind of like, either the parents in the Disney movies are like guardians and always get killed off early. In every Disney movie,
it's true.
The parent that everybody cares about, the one that's supposed to be nurturing the child, is dead or gets killed off. I'm thinking The Lion King for some reason, probably because you just saw the play, but that, and of course, like I think in Cinderella, the mother was killed off. But then, what's funny is that this new step mother comes in, and she just is painted as like this evil witch, Like, who would marry that? You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
where's the dude at? I didn't remember the dude being in the movie, the guy that she married.
Well,
So
if you watch Ever After, which is the live action Drew Barrymore version of the Cinderella story, her father dies of a heart attack, and it's shortly after he married the Countess.
The who?
And the Countess.
What's a countess?
It's like it takes place in England, and it's like British, and
You know what
it's a title.
A countess is basically like their version of an accountant.
No, it's like a lady of the property, but
A lady of the night?
no, but she's brought in from this like foreign land. He married her and brought her in with her 2 stepdaughters, and then dies within like a week later, and she's madly in love with him. And then when he dies, leaves like no long-term financial plan. So then she has to, figure out how to keep the household running, and it's a much different story that's painted. So that's what happened to that parent in that dynamic. But it is a difficult role to be a quote unquote step parent. And I would say it's because like you love the kids so much, and you definitely would love for them to love you back. But sometimes the kids are wrestling with trying to figure out where you fit in their life. Like for my example, our little ones, they have a mom. I am called quote unquote stepmom
Or bonus mom.
But then that puts the titles in almost like direct competition, where it's like, well, who's the mom? Who do I listen to? Whose rules go? And I know that that's super challenging. And I know same thing, like for you being a stepdad and Ezekiel having a dad, it's like, well, when he's here, what's your role? It's just a big, like, I don't know. I constantly wrestle with like, how do I navigate this dynamic as a step parent?
I think as they get older, as they go into the workforce and the world itself, they do realize that certain behaviors and certain things usually aren't globally accepted, whereas they may have thought. Like just saying, like, when you go to a workforce and you don't like, it's not cool to go up and like slap your coworker on the butt, even though you may do that at home a lot,
How does that relate to step parenting, honey?
It does, because you want to tell your kids that's not cool.
Oh, yeah. So there's certain things that we can speak into as if like, as a stepmom, things that I would tell the boys that are just like normal common sense things. But then I've had to figure out how to have my own relationship with them and take an interest in things that they enjoy. But it's definitely a unique dynamic, and one that I think people don't talk about as much as they should. Don't you agree?
I agree. Yeah.
Well, this has been super informative, Kris. Do you have any last words for our listeners, or you want to tell them where they can find out more about us and our show?
Yeah, you can find out all about our show and us at KrisandKristineShow.com. And there'll be a link to that into the show notes of this episode. Just look on down and there it is.
Absolutely. And on that website, you can find out more about this podcast. You can find links to all of our family fun videos. We will be coming back to you in another future episode and giving you our annual family vacation recap and a recap on separate episodes of some of the other adventures we've been having. So you definitely want to stay tuned.
It's been a fun adventure summer. The summer has been nonstop. If I never see an airplane ever again, I'd be happy.
What? You're lying. Well, I've already started planning the next one. So
What?
You're out of luck.
Surprise,
Chuck.
surprise. Where are we going?
So definitely stay tuned to the website, and you can find out more about Kris's work with Podtastic Audio and production services, and find out about what's happening with our wedding planning and event business, Kristine Smith Designs. And just thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back with you next week.